That's right, everyone. It's a Friday edition of the Watch List, week number 2. And you know what happens on Fridays on the Watch List? We have a fantastic day, but we like to call it a fantastic day. Francesca Fiorentini joins us again for yet another Friday. What's going on, man?
What up, dude? Hell yeah, bro.
Yeah,
just crushing it. On just bright and early on a Friday, second week of the Watch List. I hope we have nothing but uplifting videos.
Yeah,
mostly of sea otters and small hedgehogs.
We always try to get some uplifting videos, maybe something for you to laugh at, but also something for you to think about. But of course, we go through everything that's caught on camera, that people say and do in news and politics, society and culture, things we want to talk about, right? And I think you guys might want to see what we have in store today because we have a couple of, I guess, collisions of belief systems that continue to explode with the Joe Rogan thing, and another comedian has jumped into that. I think we should get started on that right away, and I'm glad, Francesca, you're here to help us with this. Let's go. Jon Stewart, well-known comedian, he went on the show recently, and he sort of defended Joe Rogan as he's having this huge fallout with Spotify as artists are leaving the platform, upset about his misinformation with COVID. Let's hear what Jon Stewart had to say.
I want to know your thoughts on Spotify and Neil Young pulling his music off it.
First of all, I love Neil Young and I love Neil Young's music. But the idea that it was worth $4 billion in value to Spotify caught me off guard. But when he pulled his music off of Spotify and Spotify went down, I was like, that doesn't seem right. And I would say this: don't leave, don't abandon, don't censor, engage. I'm not saying it's always going to work out fruitfully, but I'm always of the mindset that engagement, and especially with someone like a Joe Rogan, who is not, in my mind, an ideologue in any way. Misinformation will always be out there, but if the algorithm drives people further and further down the rabbit hole, the algorithm is the amplifier and the catalyst of extremism. And if you can, I would much rather the algorithm than deplatform and all these other things. And there's no question that there is egregious misinformation that's purposeful and hateful and all those other things. And that being moderated is a credit to the platforms that run them. But this overreaction to Rogan, I think, is a mistake. I really do. And
do you think it gives him power to react in this way versus if you actually wanted to say something against his?
Joe Rogan has power because so many people listen to him.
Lots of points said there by Jon Stewart. One specific that is being mentioned a lot is the overreaction that he pointed out with Spotify, and everyone's responding to what has been going on with Joe Rogan, and also with artists like Neil Young leaving, as he pointed out there. Algorithm talk and how it drives people more into these corners of extremism. All of these can be discussed. I'm not sure if he touched on exactly what another person that's very well knows very much about making money off of creativity, artistry, comedians. Let's listen to what this young comedian says.
The problem with the Spotify discussion is not really about Rogan. It's about Spotify being a massive, greedy corporation that has been underpaying artists for years. As frontman for Eve 6 writes on Twitter, Joe Rogan only matters in that he's a glaring example of Spotify's obscenely exploitative business practices. I don't care where he's platformed, he's gonna be platformed somewhere. I care that Spotify gave him $300 million that they owe artists. And some of the artists that it has been underpaying are other comedians. Nope, not Rogan, but big old comedians like Tiffany Haddish or Mike Birbiglia. Those folks tried to sue to get some royalties for the plays that they got on Spotify. And what happened? Spotify removed their albums entirely. They didn't even have to quit and protest. Spotify just canceled them and deplatformed them for everyone who's worried about deplatforming Rogan all of a sudden. Meanwhile, the comedians that do remain, like Matt O'Brien, write things like this. Hey, why doesn't everyone switch to SiriusXM instead of Spotify? A lot of comedians, myself included, his main source of income is from plays on SiriusXM, and I have literally made 0.0000007 cents from Spotify. I want to know what Joe Rogan has to say about his fellow comics getting underpaid from his platform.
Francesca Fiorentini points out some of the other issues with Spotify that weren't really addressed by Jon Stewart there. He's concerned about the potential canceling. And before I let you elaborate on that more, Francesca, let's just point out this one graph here as one of the reasons why Spotify might want to continue to support Joe Rogan, because it's a moneymaker. Let's look at how many, we know this already about Joe Rogan's show. How for quarter 3 of 2021, the media ratings for Joe Rogan Experience on Spotify, 11, that's average viewers per show in the millions, 11 million there. You see how much further that is. And the second one next behind him is Tucker Carlson tonight with 3.24. So there's one of the reasons why you may have this, I guess, leniency or acceptance, or maybe just small changes for what he's doing there. Can you elaborate more on some of the other issues there, Francesca?
I agree with everything that comedian said. I mean, you should really follow her on all the platforms at Franny Fio. She's got things to say. Look, it is true that comics and a lot of folks are not paid fairly on Spotify, that Spotify is a rank corporation all around. And that's why they're never gonna drop someone like Rogan unless this gets a whole lot bigger. And I still have doubts. Just going back to what Jon Stewart said, there's a couple problems with how he framed things. And I don't think he's totally wrong, but I do think, here's how he's not wrong. I do think it's difficult to so-called deplatform or cancel Rogan. He's got a giant listenership. He will be platformed somewhere, right? That's why I think a lot of folks like frontman for Eve 6 are like, the real question is, how is Spotify treating other artists less fairly, given 300 million, 100 million, whatever it is, to Joe Rogan for that contract? So that's where I think Stewart might be right. Too big to cancel. There's such a thing. Too big to fail in banks, too big to cancel. Here's where he's not right. It's the algorithm. Like it's some, godlike deity that comes down and tells us, what we must do. And it just radicalizes people on its own. Right. No, it's Facebook, it's Google, it is Twitter, and it is Spotify. These are places and corporations that make money off of people going down those extremist rabbit holes. So don't front like all these platforms are making money. And what do you think about Trump being kicked off Twitter? Did we lose so-called engagement from that loss? I would argue no. Last point on this, Joe Rogan is not as open-minded and sort of like kind of just stepping into this, wading into this, kind of like not an ideologue as everyone thinks he is. He's platformed Alex Jones multiple times. He's platformed Gavin McInnes multiple times. You show me the times that he's had someone like Ilhan Omar or someone from the Black Lives Matter movement who really believes in abolition. Let's talk about police abolition. If you're so open-minded, you're so crazy or radical, whatever. But he doesn't. We know who he platforms. I think he's a lot smarter than we give him credit for, or that he lets on.
It allows many times for you to be like, I don't know, I'm just letting people talk. And we know that's how a lot of times when it comes to these conversations, like, I'm just open-minded, I wanna hear all points of view. And it allows everyone, no matter what their point of view may be on each specific issue, because when it comes to masking and vaccines and all that stuff, that's not always just a conservative versus liberal issue. I think that should be dispelled in the first place. There's plenty of Democratic voters who are super anti-vaccine. It's just the way it is. So it allows this open up for so many people to come in, which is a good business practice because a lot of people will listen because it opens that up. Now, there was a response. Let's jump down to this fourth quarter because I do want to see what the Spotify CEO did say in response to all this as this is happening. So Daniel Ek here was quoted as saying, everyone is a little upset, especially the people whose initiatives directly contradict what's happening. That says one current employee who was asked to remain anonymous as to not compromise their job. So people are feeling increasingly frustrated that no matter what the company says messaging wise, or no matter what people's initiatives are, it all kind of ladders up to what's the best for Joe Rogan and Joe Rogan's audience. So there was a question and answer session during this back and forth, this bit of a town hall that the CEO was having. And they questioned whether the platform rules are stringent enough for things like this. And if the company's latest actions did enough to address the scientific community's concerns, and how employees work to advance diversity within the company, and how it can reckon with some of Rogan's comments, like his questioning of Black identity, which we saw just before. So lastly, X response, again, this is the Spotify CEO. He responded with the same messaging he employed earlier, but added that exclusivity does not equal endorsement, and said that the solution to this problem might be signing more exclusives. The real thing here is to try to go for an even broader set of exclusives that represent even more voices. So I think they're calling you, Francesca, yes. More voices, more exclusivity. Is that happening for you?
Bitchuation Room podcast, get it on Spotify. I'm not wealthy enough to deplatform or go against Spotify, not yet. Looking to become a rock legend. And then I'll go away.
Maybe if you open up your discussions to more people, maybe people start 11 million listeners constantly. I mean, maybe
that's how it happens. You know what's disgusting about what you just said that's exactly how it happens. If you platform right wingers, we all know fake news, outlandish like conspiracy theories, they spread however many thousands of times faster than actual news. So if you are just starting out, you just have a bunch of like right wing, far crazy takes, yeah, you'll grow. You'll grow a lot faster, and maybe you'll get a Spotify deal.
Yeah, you don't have to say as much. Speaking of not saying much or maybe saying things ridiculously, let's go to this next video that occurred on Fox News.
Here's a quick thought experiment. If AOC was fat and in her 60s, would anyone listen to another thing she ever said?
Oh boy, you're gonna step in that one. What exactly do you mean by that? Do you mean, is it because she's young and what?
Yes, she's young, she's vibrant, she's beautiful, and everyone's always putting a camera and a mic in her face. But her opinions are idiotic 95% of the time. And I don't think if she was a middle-aged, heavy-set woman, anyone would care what she had to say.
I'm not so sure I agree.
There's Sean Hannity speaking with Adam Carolla, another comedian there, talking about AOC. Now, the basis for this conversation was a response that AOC had to the suspension of Whoopi Goldberg after she made those comments on The View that was minimizing the real causes and pushes of what Hitler and those guys are doing with the Holocaust, which got her suspension, and she also apologized for. So really fast, this is what AOC did say that got them on this point. I think we should take the Jewish community's lead on this. See that her apology is authentic and move on. So many people were upset about the moving on comments from many folks that maybe were in support of Whoopi Goldberg. But let's finish this conversation that Carolla and Hannity were having about AOC.
I'm not so sure I agree. Now, I will say this, you can criticize her ideas, and I do. I think the Green New Deal is madness and insanity, but she's got the whole Democratic Party following her. In my opinion, she's way more powerful than Speaker Pelosi. And if she and the squad decide Speaker Pelosi's out, I think she could probably be Speaker. If she challenges Chuck Schumer in New York, I think she has a good shot of beating him. Maybe I'm wrong.
I agree with you. I'm just saying if she was fat and old, I don't think TMZ would be chasing her around with a camera.
I didn't think we're allowed to say the word fat anymore. Is that shaming, body shaming, et cetera, et cetera? What do you call that?
Zoftic.
If you guys didn't notice that, Sean Hannity does not want to participate in this part of the conversation because he understands where this is going. And this comedian, Adam Carolla, thinks maybe it's funny, maybe he thinks that there's a point of, hey, I can say these things based off of not much of anything, because there's a camera in the middle, a couple of middle-aged men's faces that aren't very good looking, and I don't know, they're not very overweight, but there's a camera in their face all the time. It's weird how that works when you're known and then there's a camera in your face. Now, by the way, there might be another reason the camera might be in AOC's face all the time is because she's saying things that many Americans are saying but never get actually listened to by their elected officials. Let's look at this CBS poll about why people may be paying attention to AOC. 88% of Americans support federal funding for lowering prescription drug prices. 84% support federal funding for Medicare coverage for dental, eye, and hearing. 73% support federal funding for paid family and medical leave, and 67% support federal funding for universal pre-K. Things that AOC is always voicing and fighting for in the face of people like Joe Manchin that say none of those things are wanted by people in West Virginia. So screw everyone else. Have they convinced you yet of this? I mean, if she gains some weight and suddenly all those policies people care about, they just won't care about them anymore.
Yeah, no, that totally goes away. Look, here's what I will say. I think it is very funny that Adam Carolla, a comic, someone who's been like just the most like conservative boomer dude who's aged out of being at all relevant so long ago, is actually saying what conservatives on Fox never say, which is that she wouldn't be less popular with the left, but she would be less popular with the right if she weren't so beautiful and attractive. And I would add, insanely articulate and compelling when she speaks on those incredibly popular points. But they have their anchors constantly sleeveless and in short skirts, and they're like, this is femininity and womanhood, as if they would ever put any woman who is like an average size and like average good looks on their own Fox. They know better than anyone. And the right is obsessed with AOC because she's attractive. And I love that Sean Hannity can't even say that she's a woman. He can't even say, because he will like swallow his tongue if he admits that she's good looking. And so then he has to go to like, he actually kind of gives her all these props. Like, I think if she's actually, would win against Schumer, and I don't know, and suddenly we're like evaluating her for like her accolades as if you haven't been tearing her down over some BS for forever. Like,
that's
it's actually really funny.
Yeah, I think that is the plan. Now, once you've made enough of a boogeyman out of someone, as they did with Dr. Fauci, as they've done with many other people, then every time they mention them, no matter if they say something like this, like she's taking over the party, that's not a positive thing. Right. Because we've already established that she's this horrible person who's trying to destroy the country and kill everyone else that disagrees with her. So then if you bring her up and say she's taking over the Democratic Party, that means the Democratic Party is now, we can solidify this weird talking point that they're trying to take over the country and destroy your lives by wanting elections to be fair and not be overtaken by a president, a former president, who's continued to push this consistent lie. So it doesn't matter what the conversation is. If you say AOC now, then anything about it is a negative. So you can say, oh, she's taking it over, but they still like it that way.
Yeah, look, all you gotta know about whether like good looks gets you clicks and ratings is Tucker Carlson, is Sean Hannity. Your asses are everywhere all the time. We talk about you guys constantly. Don't get me started on Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is not a beauty contest, but you guys, in lieu, the ugliness of your hearts shows on your face. And instead of cleaning up your act, you just say the most craziest, outlandish things, and then people pay attention. So guess it works a little differently, bud.
Yeah, I'll end with this. Let's not forget. Conservatives, Republican voters, whoever it was that was in the apparatus during the 2008 election propped up a Sarah Palin to be the vice presidential candidate, the running mate for John McCain for the Republican Party. And trust me, don't trust me, listen to what they said about her. People that supported her. They tried to push this whole thing that she has some kind of a thought process or an agenda or policy. No, they liked how she looked.
Yeah.
Mike Ditka specifically, I remember the former head coach and former football player, Mike Ditka was all about what she looked like. She's amazing, hot. That was the basis for it. And by the way, it was the reasons why there's the old the way politics changed once debates happened with JFK, how he looked so much better. These are guys in the 60s talking about how much better once people saw what JFK looked like.
Yep.
And he was so much better looking. Suddenly he's smarter, he's better, he's quicker, he's more presidential. That's how things work with humans. We gravitate towards the better looking ones. It's just there should probably be some substance behind them because now we're trying to figure out what they're gonna do for us. This is politics now. Now, we're gonna take our first break, you guys. When we come back, speaking of empty minds and politicians and moving whichever direction the wind blows, we have a Georgia gubernatorial race. And it's forever changing. It may have changed this morning since I sat down, but we'll dive into that and see just how many more moves Donald Trump is making to change the face of that race when we come back.
You're about to watch some behind the scenes footage of the Young Turks.
Ooh.
Now, these are partial videos. If you want to get all of them, you become a member, go to tyt.com/join, and you'll get all the behind the scenes of me, Anna, John, Jayar, a little bit reality show like. tyt.com/join and enjoy this.
You know what you're seeing behind me? Jersey, hold. Watch me flip this camera. However I flip it. Do I flip it like this? No, I just took a picture. I'm bitzing right now.
What?
behind the scenes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
For members? I don't have my face on.
She doesn't have her face on, folks. Oh, that's Jayar's ass right there.
You can't take 5 minutes off, can you?
No, I can't, Johnny. Bye. I said it was live stream,
But I was lying. It's not a live stream. It's just for members.
Bitsy, this is my cat. You know what his name is? Kiki Cat.
Animals are innocent.
Control room and the insanity is obviously there.
Right now, as you can see, I'm directing or tech directing.
I'm so happy to be here.
This is what like a Labor Day beard looks like for Jank. Man, you're a Young Turks viewer if you recognize me like this.
Oh, thank you. You are the one person in my life I would love to meet.
What's going on, guys? This is a Bitsy or a BTS or behind the scenes with Hassan Piker, aka Woke Bay.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there.
I have finished my show, The Damage Report, and now I get into a really awkward time of the day.
When I'm sitting, the control room is right there. So I can see Bart.
This is the Pittsburgh office, by the way. I'll refer to often as the boiler room.
You see how it's ripped? Is it super unprofessional to wear that at a business meeting? Or am I like cool rebel?
I just finished doing the power panel and I'm fired up.
What do you do for TYT?
Not a whole lot.
If you're frantically tweeting at us that something's broken, thank you, because I'm fixing it.
And thank you for being a TYT member.
Super last thing, because there's always got to be a super last thing. Oh, that was disastrous. This has been behind the scenes, behind the scenes.
Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richard. We got a lot happening today. But what do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable.
Rashad, great to be here. Congratulations on the new show. And I got to let everybody know that Rashad and I go way back.
Here's the pattern that we see in all of these Karen stories. They think they own stuff they do not own. Now, where does that come from? I don't know. Maybe slavery. Maybe they think they should still own black people.
This is what happens when Karens weaponize the police.
When you're used to privilege, equality seems like oppression.
It hits you in a certain way when someone is holding you against your will, treating you like you're a criminal and you're an innocent person. This is something that black people face no matter where they are.
A stronger black economy lends itself to a stronger, greater economy. Don't think it's exclusive of you, it's inclusive of you.
What's your beef with critical race theory?
It adds more fuel to the fire of the racist tendencies that we already have.
We have a generation of problem solvers that can remedy the problem if they are properly taught what the problem is.
You know who created redlining in this country? It was a white liberal.
I don't give a damn who created it. If it's a racist policy, Shelley, here's what I don't know. I don't know. See, there you go filibustering, brother. You're scared of this truth, but you're gonna get it, though.
Climate is changing fundamentally, extremely, and non-linearly. It's becoming worse now. It's not when the levees burst that is the problem. It's in the anticipation of that.
So I hope every human being is safe. And by human beings, I do not include multinational corporations, especially the ones that started climate change in the first place.
What we're currently doing right now in cutting emissions is clearly not enough. There will be ramifications to what Trump is doing. I don't want people to suffer, but I feel like there's gonna be a lot of suffering because we have an imbecile as our leader.
We are back on the watch list. Oh, there's so much to get to today. But I'm gonna read a couple of you all's comments just because I love what you guys have today. YouTube super chat, Bernie the Kiwi Dragon says, I understand Stewart's point. I don't think he should be canceled, but I also don't think he should be left to his own devices. So some of the things that Spotify was talking about doing there was putting up disclaimers like you see sometimes on Twitter, and I'm not sure if it's on Facebook because I avoid Facebook at all costs. But there is some disclaimers that they're trying to push for, at least a lot of people to think that, oh, we should at least pay attention to what he's saying and maybe think critically about it. Mountain Joe 79 says, I'm not sure why we're surprised that this is coming from the former primary host of The Man Show, which let's all remember the Man Show was Adam Carolla. I'm blanking on his
and Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel, yes. They talked about Jimmy Kimmel and his liberal points of view because like, hey, remember you did that misogynistic Man Show, which had bumpers going to it with women jumping on trampolines. So remember that?
Yeah.
Yes, that was an old favorite of many.
But he's cried enough on national television to have atoned for all that.
He's good. He's good. Let's get to this next story, deep into the political world of Georgia.
I'm the only one that could beat Stacey Abrams.
Vernon, can David Perdue defeat Stacey Abrams?
No.
Why?
He cut from the same cloth that Brian Kemp is cut from, John. They're from the same cookie cutter. He doesn't have any fight. Nobody's heard from him in the past year. Where has he been on election integrity? Has he been fighting for election integrity? No. Where has he been on the mandates? Have you heard from him about the vaccination mandates? No. Matter of fact, John, if you look at his video, he literally is using my words verbatim and my message and my issues verbatim. No, he can't defeat me. He just spent $97 million not even an election ago. $97 million, John. 2 bites at the peach, and he couldn't cross the finish line. What does that say? What's the difference between he and Brian? Look at him.
Look at him. Look at him. That's gubernatorial candidate Vernon Jones kicking David Perdue's ass all around on that radio show back in December, just a month ago, talking about how much more qualified Jones would be for that position to challenge Brian Kemp, the current sitting Republican governor of the state. And as we already saw just earlier this week, I think Donald Trump has already made a decision on which one of these 2 guys to endorse, because he's definitely against Brian Kemp, because he needs someone to push his election fraud theory that is still ongoing. Let's see who Donald Trump is backing.
David Perdue, an America First conservative outsider, is the only candidate for governor endorsed by President Donald Trump.
David Perdue is an outstanding man. He's tough, he's smart, he has my complete and total endorsement. Vote for David Perdue.
Vernon Jones has a bit of a mountain to climb, and when it comes to Donald Trump then endorsing David Perdue, not necessarily against him, but definitely against Brian Kemp. But one thing is for sure, both of these guys, both David Perdue and Vernon Jones, want to make sure that Donald Trump knows they are fighting for him and those same election grievances. Let's watch this.
We're divided, and Brian Kemp and Brad Raffensperger are to blame. Look, I like Brian. This isn't personal. It's simple. He has failed all of us and cannot win in November. Instead of protecting our elections, he caved to Abrams and cost us 2 Senate seats, the Senate majority, and gave Joe Biden free reign. Think about how different it would be today if Kemp had fought Abrams first instead of fighting Trump. Kemp caved before the election.
Joe Biden, how did we get here? Because of Brian Kemp, his failures. They want someone who's going to bring election integrity back. Where's he been on election integrity? Has he been fighting for election integrity? No.
And let me be very clear. Over my dead body will we ever give Stacey Abrams control of our elections again.
That escalated extraordinarily quickly. I mean, I thought we were talking about Brian Kemp and how he screwed people over in Georgia, but there's gonna be dead bodies if Stacey Abrams happens to win. It's just not gonna happen in my state. I'll tell you what, we're not gonna go to some of those implications behind that statement. But anyways, so as of Thursday, this is a bit of the twist now. So as of Thursday, Donald Trump, who is endorsing David Perdue, obviously he can't pull that back. He offered to Vernon Jones an endorsement. How does that work? Only if he drops out of this race and then runs for a congressional seat or maybe something else that's a lot lesser, because he still needs to clear the way and make sure his 2020 grievances are spoken clearly over my dead body. So let's go to some of these details from CNN. Former President Trump, I promise, Francesca, I can't wait to get you to respond to this. Former President Trump has offered Georgia gubernatorial hopeful Vernon Jones his endorsement in a congressional contest if Jones agrees to exit the GOP primary for governor to instead run for Congress. That's according to 2 people familiar with this matter. Both of whom said that Trump's behind the scenes maneuvering is meant to bolster Perdue's challenge to incumbent Brian Kemp. As I mentioned, Jones's campaign has failed to take off despite an early entry into the primary last April. And that leaves him badly trailing both of them, Kemp and Perdue. And the latest Quinnipiac University poll showed that Jones has 10% support, and while Kemp led Perdue by 7 points, 43 to 36. So they're thinking if we get rid of this 10 points that Jones has, we can add that to Perdue, and Perdue has a better shot. Maybe he's leading by 10 if it comes out just as cleanly as that. So that is the idea. And before this, Vernon Jones was all in. Before we get to any more of that or how Vernon Jones was responding to this, first, just this whole maneuvering situation, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, Trump thinks that he has the Midas touch, except everything turns to doo-doo, as we all know. Look what happened in the last election in Georgia. Okay, like Purdue was defeated resoundingly, and it's so. I just want to say, let's just talk about Purdue as if Georgians want anything to do with him anymore. This guy is one of the most corrupt insider tradey senators ever, right? Yeah. He introduced, this is 14 different bills that deregulated and helped the financial industry at the same time that he's receiving money from the financial industry. Just like the amount of insider trading. Then he sold off all those stocks, do you guys remember, obviously, and in the wake of the pandemic. This guy is the swampiest, most Washington insider there could possibly be. So just put that aside. And like the idea that Stacey Abrams, like, oh, if she ever ran elections again, guys, she never ran elections. 100%. Remember what happened? Brian Kemp essentially stole the election, closing down a bunch of polling places in Black and brown communities in 2018, right? Like, Brian Kemp was the one who was willing to steal an election on his behalf. He just wasn't willing to steal an election on Trump's behalf. That's why Trump hates him, and Purdue hates him. But just their guy's not going to win any more handily. Anyway, I say let him fight, split the vote. I love it. I'm here for it. Popcorn, popcorn, popcorn.
Let's jump down really fast to this last graphic here, you guys, with what Vernon Jones was saying in response, because you wonder what he's going to do now, and some people are expecting that he's not as hell-bent on that governor race as he once thought. Really fast before we end this now conversation. 2 Republican sources familiar with the situation, they spoke to Fox News, and they told them on Wednesday that after this meeting that Trump had with Vernon Jones and offered him his backing if he instead runs for Congress or another statewide office, Jones is currently, quote, weighing his options. And also a second meeting between Trump and Jones at Mar-a-Lago is expected at the beginning of next week. And I wonder what they're gonna talk about there. It's a good opportunity that today or even over the weekend or Monday, Jones is gonna drop out of this race because he's thinking, hey, I got an endorsement somewhere else. I'm looking for a way to continue to push Donald Trump's message in any way possible because that's politically expedient for me. I'll take it because he may see it. We'll see if he sticks with what he wanted to do originally or if he's just gonna take another spot and spread Donald Trump's gospel along with David Perdue, and they'll work kind of side by side, just in different positions. We'll see where it goes, but keep an eye on that. Jeff Bezos is in the news. Let's watch this.
Okay. Jeff Bezos, he's rich.
Very.
He's got a yacht, a super yacht. It's being made in the Netherlands. The problem is they have to tear down a bridge to get his yacht out of the Netherlands.
Reasonable request.
So the yacht is worth $600 million Canadian. The bridge was built in 1878. It was bombed by the Nazis in World War II. So that's the bridge. This bridge has real historical significance in the Netherlands. And quite frankly, it looks kind of cool. Like so now the debate is, who the heck is Jeff Bezos to say, you know what, history, schmistery. Tear down the bridge.
The bridge is mystery.
And so some people are saying it's an old bridge. Well, what are you gonna do? But I'm sorry, that bridge, it means something.
Apparently it does mean something to the city of Rotterdam, and they're planning to dismantle it, as those hosts there point out. This historic bridge. Now, the one thing they had a little bit off was that bridge was not built in 1800s. It was built in 1927. Maybe it's not historic enough for Jeff Bezos. Either way, he built this yacht or whatever this massive ship is there, and he needs to get it out of there. So let's move this old bridge out of the way. I mean, because look at my beautiful yacht. Why are they allowing this is the one question from the city that seems to be endorsing this situation from Jeff Bezos, and the answer might be pretty simple, but let's find out. Rotterdam officials yielded to the billionaire here, the world's second richest man, given the significance of the project due to the local economy. Rotterdam Council project leader Marcel Walrens called the construction of the super yacht, quote, a very important project economically. I think you can figure out what that means. So the boat itself cost $500 million to build, and it was being constructed by this Dutch company called Ocean Co. Now, Ocean Co, Ocean Co, I believe it was called. They're gonna pay for the cost of dismantling this bridge because, hey, we're getting $500 million for this boat. Might as well spend a couple dollars on this bridge. So that's according to Van Heist, and it's unclear if Bezos, who's worth roughly $176 billion, will pay for any of that disassembly cost. And before I get your thoughts, there's this one image of a few folks, the locals, that don't want any part of this, don't want this to be just torn down, and they've planned this protest where they're tossing eggs at this super yacht. Hopefully they egg protected it. I'm not sure what you can do. It's almost like, protecting your couch from spills. But I get a feeling the eggs aren't gonna do much for them. The rich just can do what they want. What are you thinking, Francesca?
I'm thinking, look, I'm no engineer, but in theory, couldn't we have built the yacht on the other side of the bridge? Is that at all something we could have entertained? Am I genius or an idiot? We could have avoided this entirely. Look, hats off to the eggers. I wish them well. The city of Rotterdam, been there, beautiful. I think there's a clock tower. But look, times are tough. In the pandemic, nobody wants to go to Rotterdam, man. They're going to like Hawaii or other places, or like Italy. I mean, Italy greater than Rotterdam. Let's be real. Any city in Italy. I'm just
It needs
kidding.
a big body of water. Now, by the way, the geography, who knows? Maybe the geography of where they're building it is an issue on one side of the dam or the bridge versus another. I don't know, but the thing is, if you're planning a $500 million project, I'm just thinking about that. When I plan a $500 project, I work on an old 1984 Corvette. Many people know this. I was changing. Oh yeah, I love doing this stuff. When I'm changing a $200 distributor in this car,
sure,
I have to plan that whole thing out so that I don't screw things up and end up being there for an extra week. Because I've done that before where I didn't plan it well and I screwed up the whole thing when I replaced the starter and the wiring because I didn't realize it had been chewed through because it's been sitting in someone's lot for 20 years. So by the way, if I'm planning a $500 million project, you should probably figure out a way to make sure that you can get the damn thing out of it. And if you didn't, maybe you should take some hits to do it the right way the next time, because the guy you're building it for is worth $176 billion.
Look, here's simple solution. I think Bezos goes up to the top of that watchtower, the clock tower, and just throws a bunch of hundreds off of it for the people of Rotterdam to collect. And we can call it even, because none of that money is staying with the town. It's just this company and them paying for the dismantling of this historic bridge that I'm assuming serves some sort of purpose, bridge purposes. So but this is what billionaires do. It's like you are simply a launch pad for my wildest fantasies and dreams. And we should be grateful. No.
We shall not. We'll see if anything gets traction from that. I doubt it. It's Jeff Bezos and he's already got this thing into motion. So we'll see what happens there. Let's take our next break, everyone. And when we get back, there's gonna be a couple of stories about, and not necessarily right wingers, but one definitely is. The other is just an anti-masker, and they're kind of wilding out. Some congratulations, a little bit of anger. Some feelings were touched. We're gonna look at all that when we come back.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of The Damage Report, another week of the news. I am John Carolla, and we've got a doozy of a show for you. My God, is DC up its own ass today. We have put someone into power in our country who is so crazy, they have finally out-crazied North Korea.
The US is the only country in the world that isn't part of the Paris Climate Accord.
Yesterday, Donald Trump did exactly what he told us. He pulled the US out of the Iran nuclear accords.
So we need to see snuff videos of how you're killing people on the streets in order for you to believe us that this has been a problem. We need to change things.
I was gonna say we've been dealing with the issue of lead poisoning in this country, but that would imply that we're really doing something. We have an issue with lead poisoning and it continues. So 60 people are now dead. Some of them grandmothers, many of them children. The silence of politicians on both sides of the aisle. Just about only Bernie Sanders, maybe Tulsi Gabbard, and a few others have actually been critical of what happened there. And the rest are cowards hiding behind silence, refusing to admit what happened yesterday.
We have to be able to accept that we do things wrong in this country. You can fix and change things, make things even.
What's great about our country, and this is a great example of it, is everybody's pissed off. This is a damage report, and it's all about the threats facing us each day. When something's relevant, and it's hot, and it's in the news, you're not supposed to talk about it. Can we start talking about it now?
I often think about the terror that my grandmother was under until she was 8 or 9 years old, and how horrific that experience must have been in this state of discomfort for the benefit of other people.
People will still treat you like you're the problem. That's what we mean when we say living well black. We're just trying to live our best life. We're trying to be the best that we can be, and we're frustrated and tired of people treating us like we're criminals.
Back on the watch list, everyone, really fast because I love these few comments from TYT members. Hammerdan says, what kind of idiot wouldn't check to see if his big tub would fit under the path to the ocean? True. Shikata Gainai, Beer Dragon says, Corvette, I'd peg Jayar as a Porsche pilot. No. Old school, we go American, we go domestic. Ford, Chevy, Dodge, Mopar. Absolutely. That's what I'm about. And lastly, Goose Jail, thank you for the super chat, by the way. We appreciate all super chats. We love having you guys here. Isn't Purdue one of the senators that lost their seat because he bought and sold stocks based on insider knowledge about the COVID lockdowns? Yes. That's exactly what Francesca was talking about. But not only that, Donald Trump, the same guy who's endorsing him now for the governor race, he came in and destroyed the whole thing at the end for both of those folks were Republicans that were trying to win seats back again. And he told everyone not to vote because it's a rigged system because look, I lost. So that's what happened as well too. He's a bit of it's not the Midas touch, the poo touch, as we mentioned earlier. And he's got him back again for more. We'll see if it works.
Poo touch.
Let's touch speaking of, well, it's not necessarily a poo touch, but someone.
Speaking of touching poo, please, please say you're about to say that on a Friday.
I walked the dog yesterday and I may have touched poo. I hate that part of the experience. But someone was touched yesterday. Let's dive right into this next video. So many on the right, when it comes to fights, they will get back and forth with calling someone a snowflake. Can't believe you look like that. Oh my God, your genetics suck. Here's one guy who didn't like the response.
Bye, baby.
You know what you need? You need to be removed from the gene pool because you're too stupid to be alive.
Yeah?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you have no hair, sweetie. Oh, baby.
Touch me. Touch me.
No.
Touch me. Touch me. Touch me. Touch me. Touch me. Come on. Come on, hard ass. Get that phone out of my face. I'm about this close. I'm about this close.
Drunk, bitch.
I'm
Get
about this.
Drunk. How old are you?
Hey, shut up.
You shut up.
Shut up.
Who's out here out of his truck? Bye, baby. Bye, baby.
Someone was a little touched when it came to when we talk about genetics and what's wrong with yours. Well, you lost your hair, bro. I mean, since we're talking genetics, apparently now he wants to be touched. I don't know if that turned him on. I'm not sure what he's looking to get from being touched there. But anger definitely flows through this guy. The confrontation, I'm not really sure what's happening. This is a Reddit freak out moment, as we've all seen many times. But if you're gonna talk the game, you should at least be able to take one kind of insult back. She didn't even say you're ugly. She just said you don't have hair, bro. It's just a general response to genetics.
It's so brilliant. I'm sorry. It's just watching him try to compute just like some real Matrix level, like, how do I respond? What does that mean? I don't have anything. And then he's just like, okay, now I'm getting mad. Like, just like, he really is trying to think of a comeback. It's a little bit of a like, nice comeback, loser, which is what she should have said.
It's really all there is.
But like, first of all, Jayar, what happened before this video was filmed, I think it's unfair that we're only seeing this now. You don't know the confrontation. No, look, first of all, if anyone's enjoying a beautiful sunset as that looks like,
yeah.
What are you doing? Don't be mad. Don't start telling people they should be removed from the gene pool. Calm your ass down. Look out the horizon and think about how small you are on this giant planet in a giant universe just spinning into nothingness.
Yeah, and you're in one of these spots. Look, you're in a beautiful location, like you said, it seems, but the anger still flows. Maybe she cut him off in the parking lot. Maybe he couldn't get his truck in a spot. I don't know, whatever it was.
Sure.
And again, you jump out of the truck and put your face in the camera and go, get that phone out of my face. Bro, you put your face into the phone. You know? It's a little weird that's now the problem. If you're being recorded and you don't want the camera in your face, you know what you could do? Drive away.
Yep. So here's the thing, as a Corvette sort of tender is what I'm calling you.
Yeah.
Why is it always the douchebags in the nicest cars that have the biggest attitudes? Like, I swear to God, some guy in like a Beamer I had never seen, a Beamer from like a movie, a Bond movie in 3 years, one of those you're not gonna see on the street. Like, I'm in a smart car, dude's freaking out at me. I'm like, bro, why don't you just go live your life with all the money you have? Like, that guy's truck is so huge, probably very expensive. Like, hey, go live this great life you've clearly set up for yourself somehow. Selling,
yeah, it's not for yourself a lot of times it's for other folks to say something to you. Hey, nice truck, bro. But if everybody's got that big truck, it kind of blends in. It's kind of like, I notice the difference when I'm down in the South. You see trucks. When you're out here in the West, you see Prius, electric car, Prius. Actually, Tesla. So it's constant. So it's
we know you hate pre-I. We have noticed you're anti-pre.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, wow.
Said anything about Prius?
Canceled, Jayar. Watch list? You canceled.
We got one more thing to watch. I'm changing the subject, yes, quickly and as expediently as possible. Because I do need your perspective on this. I've been saving this all week for you. Because maybe you might go shopping. Some people like to thrift shop even, but it doesn't always happen in thrift shops. This happens to women, I believe, everywhere. When you're just minding your business and a gentleman walks up and just wants a little bit of your time, which transfers to a lot of bit of your time. Watch.
I started recording because this guy was being sus. I was just trying to thrift.
Excuse me. My name's Lori.
All right.
I just think you're one of the most beautiful girls I've ever met.
Oh, thank you.
Could I buy one of those things for you?
Oh, no, it's okay. I'll be fine.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you engaged with someone or involved with someone?
No, I'm not, but
I'm not either.
I'm only 17, so.
Okay, well, that's a good age to be.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not quite that.
All right.
My God.
So by the way, it only gets worse. Let's watch a little bit more of this, you guys. There's more.
I got injured about a month or so ago. My knee is kind of, I'll show you. It's kind of banged up. I get bitten by a tick, actually. Maybe you can guess which one is bad.
Oh, I have no idea.
You can't tell?
No, I can't tell.
It's the right one. Anyway, I live out in the country, and I got a bunch of stuff that I was kind of trying to keep up on for work, but it's kind of falling behind. I'm looking for someone to help me.
Oh, okay.
It's a paying thing, but it's basically involves getting my stuff out of the garden and processing some things like tomatoes and that kind of stuff.
Right. I'm getting a phone call. I actually have to go.
Okay.
I wish she'd have left several minutes before, and it sucks that you would have to. And maybe she's hoping she could deflect him long enough. How many different scenarios like this have you been in? And is there a go? I feel like there must be. I think about this stuff all the time when it comes to how men are in the many times around women and how they have to respond. And if there's a go-to, how do I escape from this scenario that women just have to think about every time they leave the house?
Yeah, I mean, this happens all the time. It's happened to me. It's happened to every woman. It's constant. And it's incredible that it was filmed, and I really appreciate that because he is not it's a different kind of like video, right? Because and yet something that's so common, straight serial killer vibes, all right? Straight up, just like creeping on her. Hey, you're single, I'm single, and she's answering him honestly, no, I'm not with anyone, which is number one. You really should be like, yes, I'm married and we have 1,500 babies. Goodbye, but you want to be nice. And I think women are often, especially young women, put in a situation where they are afraid to shut someone down. And trust me, as someone who's shut people, random creeps on the street down, like they get angry, they get aggressive. So you want to avoid that situation as much as possible. And by doing so, sometimes you egg people on, you lead them into new conversations. This guy's like, oh, I'm looking for someone to work in my yard. Bro, you're looking to kill someone in a wood chipper, all right? We all know this. You're crazy, all right? This is some Fargo vibe. And like,
no, I live out in the country. How many things were being insinuated there? I live out in the country. Can you check out my knee? Was it his knees? He got tick bites on him.
I got bit by a tick. Oh, honey, baby bear, let me check it out for you. I'm 17. I mean, there's a.
It's weird. It's weird. Again, I talk about walking the dog a lot, and a lot of times I do it at night. And I have this bright headlight on. I want people to know that you see me. I don't want to seem like the darkness incarnate, right? Walking through and just being another one of those folks. So
you want to say I am a dad on a night walk, headlamp.
Yeah, nothing says it more. Nothing says it more. But you like there should be, if you understand where someone could be when they leave the house, they're not sure if they're going to make it back simply because of other people. I don't have that fear. I feel like I talked about this before. I don't have that fear. So when you understand how you come off, just a little bit of self-reflection, you might understand the best way to approach someone. And if that situation is not a good one, don't do it. Move on, bro. You'll be okay.
I mean, I think every so often some kind of post goes viral about the precautions women take when they're alone or going home at night. It's, walking extra circles if there's someone following you, going into a store if there's somebody following you, pretending you had to go do something, not leading them, having an Uber driver drop you off like blocks away from your home so they don't actually know.
I don't know that trick.
Yeah, it's like
Uber driver or that someone else. So the Uber driver doesn't know where you live, right?
Exactly. So they don't know where you live. I never use my real name in any kind of rideshare app or anything like that because I don't like it. But then a lot of women also walk with keys between their fingers if they're in a parking garage late at night. And like this is not good, but it is what happens constantly. And I also wish that people who are seeing some of the creepdom, and I don't mean like, but that folks would be more like, not just be bystanders when they see somebody being super creepy. And also don't replicate the creep when you're like, I'm here to save you. Can we go out now? Like that also happens. Was that guy being weird to you? Can I have your number? Like, no.
No, this is not a game. This is a real life situation. If you're there to help, just help and move your ass along. I didn't know about that. I feel like I've heard that game before too. It's okay, you guys. You'll survive if you go through the day without creeping someone out. I feel all icky after that story, you guys.
So gross.
It's almost the top of the hour. And at this point, I think you guys know what I'm looking for. Give me some of that good news.
All y'all come here. Can y'all just help that man right there? That's just seeing somebody and helping them. That's just God blessing y'all. That was a good thing what y'all just did. God bless you. Hear me? That was a real good thing what y'all. Don't stop doing that, you hear me? Don't stop doing that. Keep doing that. When you see somebody need help, always.
Those are three young kids there helping an elderly man off the bus with his bag as well, struggling a bit there. And maybe who knows at what point they were on the street already, maybe they jumped off the bus themselves, but a little bit of help goes a long way. And I'm glad that kids can see that this is a moment when you get a chance to help those. And it's one of the things that I think was always preached back in the day. I'm sure it still happens, but it's rare that you see it. And that guy there rewarded them there. Hope those weren't $1 bills that he handed them out. But the one thing I would give them advice on, if a guy says, hey, you guys come here, don't come here.
But if he says come here and he's got a giant wad of cash,
man,
it changes things. No, you got to be careful. We just talked about that.
He's like, come here, I got a whole wad of cash here. Oh, that's a bit of a red flag. But I'm glad it worked out for these three. And also, I think they did it for the right reasons. I mean, they need sometimes people need help, and there's folks there.
Yeah,
I love seeing it. Hopefully these three grow up to continue this same thought process as good news and good feels are spread across. That will do it for us today. Francesca, it's been lovely. We got 2 weeks in, and I'm getting the feeling that you're just like my symbol for the end of another week. I thank you for being here. We got TDR next. By the way, Francesca, oh my gosh, you guys can watch it. I didn't even tell you guys yet. Francesca, you got Fantastic Fridays, but instead of all of that, sorry. We can watch you on Twitch as well. But next is TDR with John and Brett. We got Garbage People. I know you guys love that. And until next time on the watch list, I will be watching.
Good job.